Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up in our news tonight, another FNM MP launches a leadership bid, exploring the Odyssey of the seas. The majority of Bahamas staff vaccinated, and a church leader reacts to the end of emergency orders. Welcome to our News Weekend, and thanks for joining us. I'm Georgie O'Bain, topping news tonight. Iram Lewis promising to get the Free National Movement back on track. That was the motto for his official leadership launch over in Grand Bahama last night.
No matter what you hear through the grapevine, I am in it for the long haul, and I am in it to win it.
2 weeks before Free National Movement members cast their vote at the party's November 27th convention, Central Grand Bahama Member of Parliament Iram Lewis promised to ensure that meritorious council members are more respected and involved in the party's decisions if he is elected as leader.
Tonight I ask more from those who have already given so much. Begging on you again. Your party still needs you. As we work to get the FNM back on track, now more than ever, we need your wisdom of those who have already run this race. We salute and thank every one of you for the yeoman's work. We appreciate you and follow in your footsteps. Moving forward, we must ensure that we respect the wisdoms of our FNM and other freedom fighters.
Lewis, who served as Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture in the Minnis administration, was one of the few FNM cabinet ministers to reclaim their seat in Parliament. Fellow FNM MPs Michael Pintard and Kwesi Thompson are also hoping to lead the party after the upcoming convention. Following a tough loss, Lewis urged party members to soberly and seriously consider the type of leadership they need at this critical time in the FNM. As leader, he pledged to ensure more women to offer themselves for leadership positions.
Whatever we have to do to make it less burdensome to get involved, we will do. Whatever it takes to make them feel safe and, of course, more respected, we will do. After all women have done for us in this party and this country, it's the least we can do for them. I implore women, especially our great women of the Women's Association, to join the Iram movement. Together, we will build a more balanced organization.
The Central Grand Bahama MP added that for far too long, FNM foot soldiers have felt ignored, overlooked, and taken for granted despite attending party events, walking the streets during campaigns, and defending their party. He vowed to change that by ensuring that all members feel included, from the party volunteers to elected officials.
Whether you are volunteer canvassing with a candidate, an election poll worker, a national party officer, a candidate, or a member of parliament, you have a role to play in getting our party back on track. You have a stake in this fight, and I'm offering myself for leadership to ensure you have your say. Allow me to lead the charge in rebuilding this great free national movement.
Well, our Jerome, Sawyer, and Turan nodes are exploring the Odyssey of the seas. They have all the details in tonight's report.
An age-old tradition to christen the newest ship in the fleet, but this particular voyage had a special meaning for this lady. Erin Brown, cancer survivor, para-triathlete, and well-known advocate for the disabled, earned a place in history as the first Bahamian to be named godmother of a luxury liner.
Ladies and gentlemen, as the godmother enters the stage, a big round of applause, please.
From henceforth, Royal Caribbean's Odyssey of the Seas will have more than just Bahamian ports of call and a 50-year-old relationship with the destination to be proud of. Godmother Erin will forever be her guardian.
I am absolutely honored. A lot of times we overlook the hard parts in our journeys. We take those moments and it's a lot of times just count us out. But this is one time that persons can look back at, look to for inspiration, motivation, and to know that you are worthy now.
The naming ceremony at the port in Fort Lauderdale in many ways signaled the return of cruising, as company executives put it. There are some 18 ships within the Royal Caribbean fleet that are back at sea, carrying some 500,000 guests. Now, this latest ship in their fleet represents growing optimism that the cruise industry within the region is on the rebound, and the Bahamas is very much a part of that recovery.
In many ways, what it took to get Odyssey of the Seas here today is much like Royal Caribbean's journey to get back to cruising. In this last year, the word Odyssey has become more than the name of this ship. It represents the Odyssey we've experienced together as a cruise line and as an industry.
Of course, having a Bahamian like Erin Brown to bear the title godmother was deliberate for what she and this new ship represent.
One of the things that we've always believed in is that our godmothers should not only be giving the blessing, but also imbuing the ship with some of their values and their successes. And we've always been very fortunate in being able to have women who stand for something and stand proud for something. And for Odyssey, which was a very special ship, a ship that was built during a period of great turmoil and overcoming great odds. And for Odyssey, we wanted someone who was an agent of change.
The COVID-19 crisis crippled the cruise ship industry worldwide, yet at the first opportunity to resail, Royal Caribbean relaunched its very first ship back into service in the Bahamas, proving that this destination remains a priority for the cruise industry. From on board the Odyssey of the Seas, reporting for our news, I'm Jerome Sawyer.
The majority of Bahamas staff have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19. This according to President Graham Davis, who says that the resort will launch another vaccination push this week. Our Jasmine Brown reports.
We're certainly ensuring that we do our part to get our associates vaccinated. We're now at a 64% vaccination rate with our associates.
Though a high percentage of Bahama employees are fully vaccinated against COVID-19, Davis says there will be another vaccination push on the resort's property starting on Monday.
We're reopening up the Melia Hotel this coming Monday for 4 weeks for more vaccinations being available for certainly our associates and certainly for the community as well.
In June, Bahamas Senior Vice President of Administration and External Relations Robert Sands said roughly 1,400 of Bahamas' then 4,000 employees had already received the COVID-19 vaccine. Davis says it's all about creating a safe environment for staff and guests. In addition to vaccinations, Bahamar has completed more than 250,000 COVID tests on staff and guests.
We've now done 325,000 tests, COVID tests, with our associates, with our guests that we offer complimentary, and we still are offering the Travel with Confidence program, which states that if a guest does contract COVID while they're here, we will fly them back to the United States for free in a private jet, or we will also quarantine for free up to 14 days. So we have spent millions in protecting our guests and protecting our associates to create a safe environment. And certainly all of the efforts that we've been doing have created a positive business outlook.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Now that emergency orders have expired, President of the Bahamas Christian Council Bishop Delton Fernandez is urging church leaders to remain on guard as the church strives to keep members safe.
I'm saying to pastors, let's be careful. Though the state might have removed some guardrails, this is a good time as a church. And this is when our leaders speak to each other, our denominational leaders, our independent leaders speak to each other and say, until we get to a better place worldwide, we're going to be careful. We're going to police ourselves. We're going to ask that certain things stay in place. The state might not require it, but we are tired as a church being blamed for clusters and the like. And so we're going to be on our guard.
Fernando applauded the new administration for keeping the church involved in discussions. He called it a change from the previous administration.
I think so far, so good. We have been a part of dialogue on an important, well, in particular, the legislation that's coming forth. We are also going to be at the table on a good bit of the things that are being enacted. And that bodes well. It means that the church is seen as something that has something to offer. We are a diverse body that has specialties in every area of society, and we do it under different umbrellas. And so I think we're off to a good start.
Well, Health Minister Dr. Michael Darville has said that he is not overly concerned that the end of emergency orders will cause an uptick in cases. However, he insisted that the government is prepared to act if it does happen.
They may have to be adjusted depending on what we are confronted with. But we feel that the rules that we have put in place will help to manage the pandemic. Some people say they're too aggressive. Some people say they're too lenient. But at the end of the day, we will be monitoring from the Ministry of Health and from the Ministry of National Security to ensure that the rules that we put in place are adhered to. And if we need to adjust the rules, we will adjust the rules.
Well, still to come, East Grand Bahama on the rebound, the debate over COVID vaccines for children, and later bank closures leave Long Island in a helpless state. The details after this.
'Twas the night before Christmas, but down on the beach, Santa was worried, his sleigh out of reach. To make sure this Christmas did not end up tragic, he must call the elves to bring some real magic. They laughed and they said, it's not all about business. This year we've decided to deliver more Christmas. With giveaways 31 days in a row, we'll fill up your stockings with prizes and dough. Then Santa kicked back, he relaxed as he knew. Rev delivers real magic and more Christmas to you.
You're watching our News Weekend. Welcome back. The winter months are expected to yield some good tourism arrivals, even in small communities still in Hurricane Dorian recovery mode. There's a lot of optimism for the next few months. Our Jerome Sawyer takes a look at one small community in Grand Bahama.
Thanksgiving, sometimes they generally pick up.
So you're looking forward. Did I see you have some tourists out here today?
Oh yeah, every day. We don't have much, but every day we have tourists. So. Yeah.
For more than 38 years, Reuben Roberts has run Bishops in High Rock, East Grand Bahama. And for the first time since Hurricane Dorian flattened the business, customers are finally starting to come back. On the day we stopped by, two groups of tourists came to enjoy the beach, the bar, and restaurant.
Great. Where are you all from?
Ireland.
From Ireland? Oh, wow. What brings you here? You're far from home.
The past 2 years have been hard on this and surrounding communities. Monster Storm Dorian all but flattened this and neighboring communities. The COVID crisis not only slowed the rebuild, but strangled what little business they've had. That is, until recently.
This is now November, so the anticipation and the hope is high. You know, I guess with Christmas, the mood is different. But you can actually see that some people are back in this area. I understood from Bishop that they are former residents who, because of Dorian, had to leave, either go to Freeport or go elsewhere. A lot of people went to Nassau.
And it will take the return of a lot more former residents to revitalize the community and economy, supported hopefully by a fully restored air and seaport.
If the airport and the harbor was to be back in operation you would like it to be 100%, but we could take anything. Just let some kind of action be happening.
But while these hurricane and COVID battered residents wait, they say there's really only one solution for now.
But try, keep on pushing. That's it.
That's most important, eh?
Ain't nobody promise you no rose garden. You got to go and do it yourself. And I ain't no hand-out fella who got to go beg, and I don't believe it.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jerome Sawyer.
Minister of Health Dr. Michael Darville announcing that his ministry will be moving forward with tag technology to assist with tracking COVID-19 cases. The aim is to ensure that COVID-positive individuals are adhering to isolation requirements. Darville said the technology is necessary as law enforcement resources are stretched.
We intend to use it because in the past we were using the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and the Royal Bahamas Police Force is stretched. And so we have to initiate technology. We intend to use it. and we intend to start testing them in clusters of infections. And so that is being discussed now as we speak. But the numbers of COVID is going down. We're watching it very closely.
Darville said contract details are being finalized. He stressed that it is a necessary tool.
I would definitely need that technology to ensure that individuals who are in isolation and those who are in quarantine stay within the parameters of the law until such a time as the Ministry of Health render them safe to actually interact with people. And so the technology is very important to us. It's being used elsewhere in the world. And we're pleased now that we are finalizing the details. And very shortly we would put that in our toolbox in order for us to ensure that the integrity of our clusters are maintained.
The Minister of Health said officials are also looking for a company in the private sector to provide a digital platform to assist with contact tracing before nationwide free COVID testing can be implemented.
Testing without contact tracing is like bread without butter. And so we are now reaching out to the private sector to look at individuals who can provide us with a digital platform to tie testing and contact tracing together so we can monitor it in real time. And so that is an issue that we're working on as well. The free testing protocols, we think we have ironed it out, but without the contact tracing and the digital platform to do it, it's actually putting the cart before the horse.
The United States Food and Drug Administration has given Pfizer the green light to begin immunizing children between 5 and 11 years old against COVID-19. But what does that mean for children here in the Bahamas? Our Christina Dragovich reports.
Even though COVID has been mild variant with our kids over the last year with the new Delta variant, we've seen an alarming increase of children being admitted for COVID.
Pediatrician Dr. Deshaun Saunders says young children are still at risk for developing severe COVID-19, and for some, the effects can be lasting.
We've had an increased number of children being hospitalized with COVID, some as young as 26 days. And when we look at the complications of COVID, we have seen a tremendous amount. We've had a lot of kids where it's affected their heart, where from MISC, which is multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children. As recent as last week, we just had a child that was discharged, and it caused long-term complications with his heart.
So if you're considering the vaccine for young children, here's what doctors say you should know.
Is a lower dose, so it's actually a third of the dose that an adult would get. They may have side effects, so they may have the soreness of the arm, the redness of the arm, they may have a mild fever, fatigue, but the side effects are very minimal.
As with many developments concerning COVID-19 and the vaccine, Dr. Saunders says there is a lot of misinformation on social media, but pediatricians can help to answer questions and concerns.
A lot of parents' concern is fertility, and it may affect their kids, but there is nothing related, and vaccines are safe, and vaccines have always been safe.
With schools reopening for hybrid learning in a matter of weeks, vaccinations are expected to help reduce the risk of severe illness.
Once the vaccine is available to make use of it, it will actually improve school openings.
Reporting for our news, I'm Christina Dragovich.
Well, still to come on our news weekend, groups call for a joint effort to end abuse and find out our quote of the week. That's coming up right after this.
'Twas the night before Christmas, but down on the beach, Santa was worried, his sleigh out of reach. To make sure this Christmas did not end up tragic, he must call the elves to bring some real magic. They laughed and they said it's not all about business. This year we've decided to deliver more Christmas. With giveaways 31 days in a row, we'll fill up your stockings with prizes and dough. Then Santa kicked back, he relaxed as he knew. Rev delivers real magic and more Christmas to you.
You're watching our news weekend. Welcome back. Bank closures on Long Island have left residents and businesses in a helpless state, according to Chief Counselor Ian Knowles, who says that this situation has made personal banking a huge challenge.
There's little to no personal banking on the island. Could you imagine living on Long Island right now when the ATM goes down on a Friday and don't come back up until Monday, the whole weekend you're without any type of service or any type of cash? Especially when the older people get their checks, there's nowhere to cash it unless they know someone in the business who could catch them for them. Banking is an issue we've been fighting for some time now to see if Bank of the Bahamas could come in and assist us, but to no avail so far. It has left us in a helpless state.
In 2018, Royal Bank of Canada pulled out of Long Island, and last year, Scotiabank announced that it would close 5 branches on Family Islands, including Long Island. Managing Director Roger Archer said in a statement that the changes were necessary for long-term success of the bank. Since then, Knowles says Omni has been the saving grace for businesses.
Could you imagine having a business in Long Island? Right after the banks closed, there was the talk of trying to go to Nassau to make your deposits and or to Exuma. Thankfully, Omni stepped in and filled some of those needs that the business experienced via banking.
However, he insisted bank closures have had a serious impact on the island's business community.
But without proper banking infrastructure in place, a business will die. And you could look throughout Long Island, there's not much government entities that are cashless. Most of them still using cash.
With renewed focus on child protection in the Bahamas, activists and social services officials say it's going to take a joint effort to stomp out violence. Our Jillian Gray has that.
We just lost a young child because of violence, because we did not intervene. And so we want to call to action everyone in their community. Do not be afraid to speak up.
Dr. Clay Philippe says no one should be afraid to call the hotlines when something is wrong. Days after 4-year-old Bella Walker lost her life to violence, police reported another incident, one where a mother stabbed her boyfriend for allegedly sexually assaulting her 12-year-old daughter. It's sad when people feel they have to take matters into their own hands instead of letting the law take its course, according to Dr. Philippe.
We can only imagine how angry she was. That did not take the due course. But we know the challenges in the system itself of trying to get that addressed. We do not have a strong family court system. We need that so that mothers, fathers, when they have an issue, it can be addressed.
More public-private partnerships should be formed to build safe houses, says Dr. Philippe, who lamented the shortage of safe havens.
We also have the challenge where you go to a safe house and it's supposed to be safe and you call in the person. Yes. And you're exposing the safe house. So it's a whole culture if we're going to have the safe house, but even then, usually it's only about 2 weeks. 2 weeks. That you can stay in a safe house. Where are you going back?
A rehabilitation program for sexual offenders at the prison showed real promise, according to Director Dave Williams, who says from their anger management, conflict resolution, and sexual violence prevention classes, they have seen tremendous growth in those men. He says he was only sad that the pandemic hindered their work.
The program was about 80% completed. We did a pre-test and we did not get a chance to do the post-test because that's when the pandemic came. But we had committed as soon as we get an opportunity to return to the Department of Corrections, we would have continued with that program and concluded with the post-test. So 1 or 2 individuals who would have been a part of that program now staying at a transitional home that we actually have. So there's an ongoing dialogue.
Henry Johnson says while men are the biggest perpetrators of violence, they can also be a part of the solution, along with training police officers to deal with domestic violence and mentoring young boys.
Ms. Sands, myself, and the department have been training police officers in how to deal specifically with gender-based violence and how you deal with the public when you deal with domestic violence as a whole.
I am doing this now for over 10 years. We've had boys who have who came out of this program and have gone on to become great men. Some of them, as a pastor, we've had the opportunity to marry some of them. I've had the opportunity to see them in college. And so we just continue to do the work.
Reporting for Our News Weekend, I'm Jillian Gray.
Well, up next, we count down the most memorable quotes of the week. Stay with us.
'Twas the night before Christmas, but down on the beach, Santa was worried, his sleigh out of reach. To make sure this Christmas did not end up tragic, he must call the elves to bring some real magic. They laughed and they said, it's not all about business. This year we've decided to deliver more Christmas. With giveaways 31 days in a row, we'll fill up your stockings with prizes and dough. Then Santa kicked back, he relaxed as he knew. Rev delivers real magic, and more Christmas to you.
Welcome back to Our News Weekend. Thanks for staying with us. It's that time when we take a look at some of last week's most memorable quotes and moments in news. This quote comes from Minister of National Security Wayne Monroe, who slammed those critics who suggested that he would not put effort into the rollout of a sexual offenders registry after he questioned the efficacy of it.
I would say that's an incredibly stupid person. And that would be an incredibly stupid person who would believe that anybody thinks they're immune to crime. Somehow that would be a stupid person who would think that I think either of my two daughters, any of my children, are immune to crime. We need to get out of that stupid way of thinking.
And the second quote comes from the heartbroken father of 4-year-old Bella Walker, who spoke with reporters briefly outside the magistrate's court on Thursday.
Anyone justice for you, man. Just one girl, anyone bury you, and care about people and marry her. That's why she's happy.
And the third quote comes from Minister of Health, Dr. Michael Darville, who called on residents to be disciplined as emergency orders come to an end.
We understand the science, and we understand what curfews mean. We're not convinced that curfews is a true reflection of the science and the reduction of community spread. It has a place, because when you have a curfew, you actually can limit the movement of an individual at a particular time. What we're saying is that we're expecting Bahamians to be disciplined. We need to move forward.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for Our News Weekend. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Georgie O'Bain, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow evening. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.